Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Welcome to the Gameweek 26 pod of the FPL Wire. I'm your host, Zoph, and I'm joined by my co-host, Late Riser. How you been, man?
The game's been testing my pain threshold the past 3 weeks, but I'm okay, man. I think the previous 2 weeks prepared me for what happened this week. For those that don't know, after much thought, I triple captain Darwin Núñez, and we all know what happened there. So it is what it is at the moment.
It's crazy, man. I think everyone's been talking about the finish that Núñez pulled out, and right at the start of the game week, Jota assist, Núñez goal. Tough.
It was a story. I'll tell you what happened on Saturday. Okay, so I had a long working day on Saturday, and I've been thinking people don't know how much we actually think about FPL. Actually, people do. People that watch the pod know how much we.
You probably know.
They know how much we talk about FPL, right? I thought and overthought this move all week. And I was like, you know what? It was more of a philosophical question for me. Where if there's one player I'm triple captaining against Haaland is Darwin, because I think he's got the ceiling that nobody else possesses. And Liverpool were in a good moment. And I thought Luton was the money game. I thought Brentford and Chelsea are slightly difficult fixtures. They're not very easy fixtures. So there's a chance to roll the dice. And you know me, I like to roll the dice, right? Then I was thinking about actually City's schedule is a lot more crunched than Liverpool's schedule. So all of that was going on in my mind. And I was at work. You messaged me, Pras messaged me, Alon messaged me that let's go. LR Darwin gets his first goal. And it was all optimistic. And I was coming home to watch the second half. I missed the first half. I switched on the TV in the 47th minute. And I haven't seen anything on. I came home and I switched on the TV and I'm looking. I'm like, Gakpo's here. Jota's not here. Where's Darwin? I couldn't see him on the screen. My God, at that moment, the way that heart sank. It was not a nice feeling. But you woke up better, feeling. Just acceptance comes, and it is what it is sometimes.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll tell you a little bit about just how weird things that. Sometimes signs that you get. I was watching some videos on YouTube, and there was this one video which had half a face of Mane and half a face of Darwin. And while you're overthinking, obsessed with this game, I'm like, is this like a sign from God that Darwin's going to go the Mane way? I triple captain Mane over Salah that week, those few seasons ago as well. But it is what it is. We roll with the punches and we play on, man.
Yeah, the game conditions us to pain.
Yeah, exactly. Big shout out to our boy Pras, who's in the chat now, who got a monster 98. He's in the top 50K now. So you and Pras are doing a good job of keeping the FPL Wire flag flying high with both of you on the top 50K now.
Cheers. I'm not referring to Pras by his name anymore, at least till we get to Game Week 30. For me, he's Fixture of now. Fixture Kasparov.
Yes. Okay, cool. That's for everybody involved. That's Pras's new name. There's no more Pras. It's Fixture of.
Fixture of. Till we get through the entire whole blank period, the fixture chess thing gets over. Let's do it.
Yeah. Did you see the meme? There was a meme of the prison break guy, how he's got like the jail plan tattooed on his chest. There was a meme. I don't remember who did it, but Pras's face planted there, and like a image of the fixture list here, and he's got the fixtures tattooed on his chest. That's just what
That's
fixture of is
brilliant.
for us.
I need to see that video. We should have put that up. I missed that.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Cool. Let's move on soon. But before we do, all of us at the FPL Wire, we want to send our best wishes to James from Planet FPL for a speedy recovery. He's been suffering from severe sciatica, which can be a really crippling condition. Both my parents have suffered from it. We want you to take as long as you need, James, and we all hope you get well soon.
Yes, and why not just do this to open? If you need any of us to substitute or come in for an episode or something of that sort, feel free to reach out to the three of us. You know where we are, and we'll be happy to help you guys out.
Definitely, man. Lots of love from all of us. Let's get started. First up with our sponsor plug.
As always, all the stats that you see on this podcast are from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. There's some interesting articles as well. We're going to paste a couple of interesting images where Neil talks about the pros of free hit 29, as well as building a team towards Game Week 29, and how that affects your FPL planning. These are all members articles, which are just absolutely fabulous. So if you
This
do
one
want to
was
become
free,
a
by the way. The
member,
one we're going to share now, you just have to be logged in. It's not even a members article. It's actually a free article.
exactly, and it's mainly the very data heavy stuff that's paid, but even that is just worth it. You know, it doesn't cost much. So if you want to become a member, and if you want to help us by becoming a member, because it helps us because we're affiliated with Scout, do click on the link in the description below.
As you also know, the FPL Wire has partnered with NordVPN. We've mentioned in the past the privacy features, threat protections, access to global content libraries, etc. You guys already know this. Now they have a new offer that runs from the February 7th to the 20th of March, where you discount on 2 years membership plus 4 extra months and some gifts. Now, what are these gifts, you ask? For the USA, UK, Australia, and Canada, users in these countries who purchase any of our 2-year plans will receive Uber Eats vouchers as follows for $10, $20, or $30 depending on the package you select. And for other countries, the deal includes 4 extra months on the 2-year plan plus a 3-month coupon to share. Sign up today. Right, let's get started, and let's start with chip strategy right at the top, because I think that's going to determine what we do. But before we do that, guys, we'd like to give the like and plug subscribe right at the top. It helped us a lot in the last episode. You guys helped us reach out a lot more. We hit almost 1500 likes, so we could hit that again. And the subscriber count has also been inching up. We're at 29.2k. So we hope to get to 30k soon. And what should we do then, LR? If we dress up in Indian, I don't think we can dress up in suits. We can dress up as Indian. Plus can maybe dress up as shirt off.
Yeah, we can do that. We can. Let's do Indian when we hit 30k. I think that's nice. In tune with the tradition at the pod as well. Let's do that.
Let's do it. Cool. So this is first up. We'll come back to this, Glown Sheet odds and stuff. Let's talk first about chip strategy. Now, this is the article that Neil wrote. I suggest you guys can either read this on the Scout page or screenshot this over here. Now, we obviously won't read all of this out to you, but in general, we'll just discuss our thought on what to do with the chips going forward. LR, where are you on it?
An open mind. And I think this is something that most people need to have, right? People who are looking to wildcard, I think Gameweek 27 is a much better place to wildcard. Oh, by the way, Pras did an excellent interview with FPL Fran on Tuesday, if you haven't caught it already, and especially if you're a wildcarder, where Fran, who's in the top 1K at the moment, shout out to Fran, did a wildcard video, and Pras spoke strategy as well. So if you want to check that out, please do. It was a great video. And that's where I am. Like, if you've got 8 players or 9 players, even with a hit this week, there's a lot more information coming to us next week, which might open up a route or 2 or 3 And I've always maintained that out of the chips that we have left, wildcard is the strongest chip that we have left. So if you're looking to wildcard, unless absolutely necessary this week, I think you play the wildcard next week. And then when it comes to free hit, you have to keep an open mind. You either play it, you don't play it, depends on your team composition. But and for example, Leeds could beat Chelsea, something like that isn't completely out of the way. And then Arsenal players and Chelsea players who FPL uh, managers have a high percentage of players from that game are playing in free hit 29. That opens up a bigger route, right? So I would say, unless you're buying a really good player for Game Week 29, and I think that's probably just the pool is sort of limited for really good picks in Game Week 29, unless you're buying an eighth attacker, buy somebody who's got good fixtures in the next 3 or 4 weeks. Uh, One thing that people aren't talking about is the semi bluff. If you can go to the FA Cup odds fixture from Ben Crellin, like let's talk about this off, right? And what is a semi bluff, right? In poker terms, semi bluff is when there's a flop of cards that fall. You're not aware of the cards that are going to open in the ground, but you raise the stakes and you play the chips hoping that the card falls in your flavor. So if you want to widen the pool of players that you're picking from, just look at this table. Look at which fixtures you fancy. Now, somebody like me, right? I have two Arsenal players and two Chelsea players. So I'm like, if I get one more player from Arsenal this week, then my chances of free hitting in 29 reduce drastically because I've got five from Arsenal and Chelsea. And that's sort of my semi bluff, hoping that Leeds beats Chelsea and the chips fall in my place. Pick a game that you like. Wolves versus Bournemouth is possible because uh, the results could fall in your hand. United versus Sheffield United or Luton versus Forest could fall into your hand. Widen the pool of players and then see what you want to do. Or else you're picking from West Ham, Villa, Spurs. Spurs you can't buy this week. So you're picking from West Ham, Villa, and Brentford maybe. Those are the three teams from which you have accessible players at the moment. So that's
Correct.
where we are.
Correct. I mean, to sum it up, rather than read all these cons, I think the main thing is, I think it's summarized well in people looking at Wang versus Douglas Luiz. Ultimately, you really wouldn't be looking at Douglas if you weren't building towards 29, right? So the risk is obviously leaving points on the table that are there in the immediately. And we've seen it happen in the last few weeks with players like Saka. I'm sorry to mention it, LR,
Yeah.
but like that's an example we have seen in the
it's
last
right.
few weeks.
Yeah, we won't be a good FPL manager if we don't learn from our mistakes, right? Sitting here 3 weeks ago, I was talking to Pras, again looking at a scout article from Neil where Saka's numbers, they had picked up. There were signs of this haulage coming. And even then, despite that, I made the Saka to KDB move and I've been punished massively. I'm 40 points down, 30 points down on that move. So 3 weeks, you could be down 40 points on the potential move that you make if you are not tunnel visioned by the blank in Game Week 29. Like it's that important. You could have 30, 40 points at stake in 3 weeks for a midfielder. So it's a good example to give.
Correct. So this is the particular table I wanted to pay more attention to from that article. Now, if you're building a team towards Game Week 29, that is not free hitting in 29, this week, you're likely buying players from Villa, West Ham, or Brentford. Now, West Ham now have the good fixture run. You don't really want an entry point over there. And the thing is with Villa, I think besides Watkins, they're all substandard assets in defense and in midfield. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. There are better picks in the game.
Because even I don't think they're a good defense. Now you can't really go near the upside guys. Cash is now playing that third centre back role with Moreno bombing and Dean is back in the squad. So you can't really go there. In midfield, the only guy who's really nailed for minutes is Douglas and who essentially has to play a little bit deeper. He is joining forward and he might get some points, but you wouldn't ordinarily look at to him as a very high ceiling pick. Now, if you're buying, just say you're free hitting in 29, Villa probably the only team that do overlap. So you could get like Arsenal, some Wolves and all that stuff. So in general, that's the main thing.
Yeah, there are a few teams that have really good fixtures right now. And just look at the fixtures, see if you're expecting some fixtures to fall into place. Like I think going for a United pick right now isn't a bad idea. Going for a Wolves pick isn't a bad idea. If you have not completed your quota of Arsenal, going for an Arsenal pick isn't a bad idea at the moment. And if you're looking at the likes of Doug Lewis, like Zoph and I have been bantering in our DMs as well as on Twitter, right? Where he was looking at Doug Lewis. Now, for somebody like Zoph, his situation is a little different. He's buying an eighth attacker. He's got his first 7 sorted. He's buying his 8th attacker, who is required to play in Gameweek 26 and 29. So in that point, if you're looking at Doug Lewis, that makes a little more sense. But even then, you just need to understand that the value of Lewis as a pick has reduced ever since Kamara has been injured, because he has a lot more defensive responsibility than he had previously. And you spoke to me about how he's joining some attacks, right? Like, my assessment of Villa is sort of like a fast transition team. They're not the kinds of team that Man City does, where they play the ball on one side, then recycle it, then give it to the other side, and they're exhausting the opposition, where there is room for the 6 in the team to come in the center of the box. Aston Villa tend to transition very quickly. So for that scenario to emerge, where Douglas Lewis is placed in the center of the box for a cutback, the likelihood of that is much lesser for a quick transition team compared to a control team. Like, that's the assessment that I had for a pick like Doug Lewis. That said, you could always get lucky with a set piece assist. You could always get lucky with a corner. But the argument that I was having with Zoph, rather the discussion that I was having with Zoph, is why not? This is a low stake spot, right? It's the kind of spot where a manager like Tom Freeman makes a lot of money, where he does well with his 4th midfielder. There's an opportunity to catch a haul or two by going with a slightly higher ceiling pick like Anthony Elanga, for example. Like, if you saw his game against West Ham, he could have had a hat trick quite easily. He had a 5 or 6 shots. Forest are in a good moment at the moment. Chance it. He's also costing you 5.1 million. He doesn't cost much at the moment. So something like that could be worth it at the moment. These are the spots where there's not much effective ownership that you're betting against, etc., that things could fall into your place. One team I want to talk about, though, I think let's just dive into that. We'll freestyle a little bit on this spot.
Let's do, but let's just in general give a general message towards chip strategy. And I think all 3 of us, Fixture of included, are in the same boat. It's that attack 26. Because next week what's going to happen is we get clarity. We know very clear what upsets might happen, how the draws layout is going to look for 29, etc. From 27, you can start building towards 29. But on 26, don't leave points on the table for the matchups that are there. You mentioned Manchester United. Now, Paulinia is out for the next 2 games. We know how Fulham are without it. There's absolutely an opportunity over there as well for certain points. So attack 26 now. Let us get the cup results next week, and then we can be a little more deterministic with our chip strategy.
And even when you're attacking 26, right, there's a way to sort of hedge it. Like, Brighton have good fixtures too, but Brighton are much more likelier to blank than a United player or a Wolves player in 29 compared. So
Agreed.
Sort of hedge it a little, see if you get lucky with how the fixtures and the FA Cup results fall as well.
Correct. Absolutely. So I think that's pretty much it in terms of macro strategy. Let's just now let's talk about the fixtures and picks, right? And I think ultimately let's start from defense, or do we start in midfield first? Because the basic agenda is replacement for all the blankers in defense, midfield and attack.
Most people are looking for midfield replacements at the moment because they've either got Palmer, or they've got Spurs midfielders, or they've got a Jota or a Diaz, for example, right? So I think midfield is the most common place. I'm going to have to do a little bit of a Breaking Bad episode. I tried removing that McFly. Like, before the pod, I spent about 8 minutes doing it, but I'm like, I can't do it for longer. We'll see what happens.
It's a fly on the wall, literally.
Yeah. Can you open the fixture ticker? Because I do want to talk about West Ham.
Do you want me to have? I have now 2 tickers loaded up. I have one where I've deleted now Gameweek 29, or the one without it. Which one would you prefer? The full one?
Just full one.
Cool. This is the next 5 game weeks up to 30, because 31 is pretty much wildcard horizon.
30 or 31, both.
30 or 31, but
yeah. I know the spillover of the fixtures, etc.
Exactly.
But just want to talk about how much do you think? I mean, how long do you think West Ham are going to be terrible? Like, they have to pick up form at some point. Like, if people want to play safe with a pick, I think West Ham is an intriguing option, because the FPL picks in midfield, like Kudus and Bowen, have a lot more credit in the bank compared to other picks that are on offer, right? Bowen and Kudus have been legit FPL picks for consideration for a while. They do have good fixtures starting this week. They have got Brentford at home, Everton away, Burnley at home, and then Villa at home. So three home games, and against shaky defenses at the moment. What are your thoughts there? Because the thing is, Paqueta is close. at the moment. So we could hear what Moyes has to say. Antonio is already playing as centre forward. So is playing in his preferred right forward role. Do you think it makes that much of a difference and they improve? Do you gamble on that, or do you think you go for teams that are in a better moment at the moment, irrespective?
So I do remember the last time West Ham were the end of a big hammering, they did show a reaction and go on a run of games. So I was expecting a positive, at least something positive against Forest. I didn't really see that. And that's a bit
Yeah,
worrying to me. So I would rather wait and see one more game because the noises aren't good. Like, Moyes should
yeah,
be talking about the players not performing. Then he's like almost like they should be grateful for the points we have, etc., etc. I don't like it when a manager
yeah,
says that, when the fan base should be grateful for what they have. It just doesn't resonate well with me. So I would say, see, now Brentford aren't an easy opponent for anyone. I don't think the
yeah,
Brentford fixture should be blue, especially now. I shared some stats about the away and home thing, and we sort of saw it in the double. They've set up in a very stingy way away from home not to concede many chances. They're mostly shots from outside. And then Everton away isn't a great fixture either. So I would say give it a couple of weeks. Once we know for sure that they are part of the limited pool, we might have much better options that emerge, which play in 29. Like today, would you even be buying a West Ham player if they weren't in consideration for this whole like fixture thing?
no. But I would have an open. I wouldn't buy if it wasn't a fixture thing, irrespective. But if somebody really wants somebody who's playing in 29 and committing to that strategy at this moment, despite what we're advising at the moment, West Ham midfielders have credit in the bank,
I'd
is
agree with that.
what I'm saying.
I'd agree with
And I'm just saying that I'd be more keen to take that gamble if Paqueta is confirmed fit for this weekend, because he's very important to make that West Ham team click. If Paqueta, Antonio, Bowen, and Kudus are looking like the four guys who are going to play, it's a decent wager to me. That's all. But I
that.
still think there are better picks in the pool, and a team is in good form until a team isn't in good form until it is. So you have to wait to make that switch.
Correct. And I think I probably would go for Kudus now, I think, over Bowen. I'm not really sure. But obviously, Paqueta isn't really an FPL pick. He makes everybody
Yeah,
better around him.
exactly. Exactly. That's where we are. Want to have a little bit of a Wang Neto discussion,
Yeah,
because
let's
that
do
is the
that because I
player.
think Wang is pretty much on every thumb, every pod I've seen. And I saw a bit of burning questions with Ronaldo yesterday. It was awesome. I mean,
Hmm.
the fanboying there, like it makes your Werner thing looks like, on a scale of 1 to 10 or 2 compared to what we see from Ronaldo. I absolutely love it. That's so shout out to you guys. And the best part is when Ronaldo was going on this whole thing, Harry's mic accidentally went on mute. So it just sounded like Ronaldo's talking to himself. Like, yeah, he's awesome. He's awesome. Absolutely brilliant. So yeah, let's look at some of those images. I don't know, for some reason this happens over here. Sorry, Ella, your videos momentarily disappeared while we are on this
That's
slide.
okay. That's okay. People will have to do without my pretty face for a bit.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
these are some numbers now. As expected, now the shot numbers for Neto are actually not that bad. I expected, like, that Neto has more assists, but the minutes per shot is quite close. But obviously, the minutes per goal is really much better for Wang. Shots in the box number are similar, but the minutes per XG, I think, is where there's really the difference, right? Wang is getting the big chances, and the fact that Cunha is out shifts the goalposts a little bit.
Yeah. But I will say this though, that like Wang got a lot of his goals when he was playing with Cunha. And Cunha did a really good job of being the slight decoy sort of guy. That said, he still gets majority of the big chances in that team. And what I like about him is his close control in the box to beat one player and take a shot is quite underrated. He's good at doing that. I've seen him do that on a few occasions where he's got excellent close control. He's able to beat a player and get a chance, get a big chance. So it's about that. I don't think Neto's a bad pick though.
Yeah,
Just in terms of
definitely not.
percentages, I was reading on the scout that Neto's been involved in 61% of Wolves goals versus Wang, who's involved in 45% of Wolves goals. But Wang is the goal scorer in that team. Neto has the assister. He's got 12 goals to 2 goals for Neto. But Neto's on 11 assists or something of that sort this season, and you can see the assist threat out here. Uh, Neto's just got a lot more assist threat. That said, if somebody wants to, zag here and go for a Neto, I have nothing against it. The only thing is that Neto tends to do better in those games where there's a counter-attacking opportunity. So, for example, the Newcastle away game in Gameweek 27 seems to me like a more Neto game than a Wang game, whereas the Sheffield United home game seems to me like a more Wang game. That said, these are still Wolves midfielders that you're going for. You have to align your expectations. That's it. The next two fixtures are ridiculously good. You're facing bottom five defenses, so the potential for goals is high.
Completely agree. There's no reason not to. And the ceiling is there absolutely for Wang. And that's why I don't like ignoring him for a pick like Luis. Because let's say Wang gets 16, Luis gets something like a 2 or a 1. That's entire thing offset completely.
Yeah. And there's a little bit of a conversation to be had about Sheffield United and Burnley. Like, it's almost like Norwich City of last year, where tools are going to be down, right? The likelihood of them getting out of this zone and giving something on the pitch and fighting relegation gets lesser and lesser the more they get beaten final sixth. And we're seeing a lot of head down. Definitely the worst two teams in the league. Like, they're massive fixtures to target. Like, anybody who's even a decent enough team, that attacker becomes a really good option against these two teams. They're massively good fixtures. So it's almost like Leeds of 2 years ago, where you can't ignore how good these fixtures are for the opposition attack. So you just have to take that into consideration.
Playing devil's advocate, though, that game was against largely 10 men, and they did much better against Luton the week before that, after they were the end of the hammering. Are we perhaps reading too much into that scoreline?
I mean, we're talking about a team that is conceded the most number of goals at any point in any of the seasons at this point. Nobody's conceded this many goals. That was a stat that I heard on Match of the Day. When nobody's conceded 65 goals that Sheffield United has at this point of the season. You just have to go for that fixture at the moment. Even Burnley, man. I mean, the goals that they gave up
Burnley is completely
to Arsenal,
different. Burnley at least come out to play, and that's pretty much their philosophy. And company has shown that he doesn't want to adapt. So Burnley are completely different kettle of fish. I do agree, but I do think Sheffield United be a very different opponent. For example, to Tottenham, who Wolves played, where they had something like 30% possession. Here they're going to have 60 to 70% of the ball. And against Ronaldo made a point that Gary O'Neill is not the kind of guy who has a fixed thing, that this is how I want to play against every team. He will probably adapt. He knows he's going to be up against a deep block, so he will naturally structure the team accordingly. And I thought that was a fair point.
Yeah, fair. That said, that the game is there for the taking. Even the names at the back of their shirts aren't really good. They aren't a Premier League quality team, so you can attack that fixture.
Yeah, I'd be much happier if Holgate was playing. What a tackle, man. Generally the worst tackle I've seen.
Yeah, man. He's not been a good player for a while.
No, I mean, if Everton, even with all their troubles, are selling a player, who's actually, I don't think they even made more money off just to get him off the books. I think, very difficult to see his career in the top flight continuing after that.
Agreed.
Sarabia, anything let's just touch upon there?
There are two better picks in midfield in that team.
There's a lot of debate about who's on penalties. I think I've heard Sarabia's record is really good. Wang's missed a few. If you had to guess today, who do you think?
Sarabia. Also, he's a 32-year-old senior pro who's come from PSG, right?
Yeah, he's a baller.
Like, so that he might just pull rank and take the penalty. But I'd say that when you buy Wang, you take into consideration that there's a 40% chance, 50% chance he takes a penalty. Sarabia also tends to get subbed off in the 65th, 70th minute, where the other guys tend to play 85 plus minutes. And in the Premier League this season, that matters.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Do they have any other options? I think that on the wing, I think that's pretty much it, right? Or any other players who can sub on, sub off? I think they're all pretty safe for minutes now with Cunha injured.
Yeah, at the moment they're safe. I want to ask you though, how do you weigh up somebody like a Garnacho against these two?
That's a tough one, right? Because we just mentioned the whole Palinia thing, and Garnacho's numbers are legit good. The last 6 he's top for XA, getting a couple of goals, and against Luton again, I think he should have found the back of the net. So United are very difficult to read because you guys again started so well, but again the defense is so paper thin that you guys have to commit. But I do worry about against teams that will sit, how effective Garnacho is going to be. Your next games, 2 games are against who? Let me just have a quick look.
Fulham at home, City away,
Everton at home. So you're essentially playing 3 deep blocks at home. Well, not Fulham. Fulham isn't really a deep block.
Fulham isn't a deep block, and they're without Palinia, right? If you're looking about the stats, Fulham without Palinia have lost 6 out of the 7 games they've played, and have conceded 20 goals in that game.
Is he the best midfield option now from Manchester United?
Yes. And if somebody wants to zag, if somebody's 1 million rank plus, you gamble on somebody like a Rashford. But I just think at that price point, there are better teams from better picks from other players. Garnacho is just a good pick. He's, I think, number 1 for penalty touches for since game week 11, and he's 4th for shots amongst all midfielders since game week 11. So those underlying numbers are good, and he's improving, man. He's just becoming better week on week. He should have had a couple of returns against Luton as well. He just couldn't finish.
Yeah. The thing with United is you're making the gamble that on 29, if they do play, they have the best fixture by far. So if
exactly.
that works out, that gamble, then you're laughing.
Yeah. It's a roll of the dice, right? Because United play Forest. Forest are on a pretty decent moment at the moment. United have just lost Luke Shaw. So that the gap between those two teams for that tie becomes lesser. It's very likely that one of Forest, Luton, or United, Sheffield United actually happen. It's very likely. It's definitely the case that one of the two teams are going to play in Game Week 29. So, it's a good roll of the dice.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Should we talk about Villa mids now? I have some numbers from Tom Freeman over here. So if you guys don't know Tom, he's a deputy editor of Fantasy Football Scout. He's been on this pod a bunch of time, top FPL manager. So before the pod, I asked him to give his input. I'll just read this out for you guys. First up, our friend Doug Lewis. He says he's a key player who has nailed minutes but has limited open play threat. That's just 15 shots in the box all season, pens, free kicks, and most corners. And this is a fact that probably you guys should take note of. His next 4 opponents rank 11th, 13th, 18th, and 15th for set play XG conceded across the season, which is good for Luis. Because the thing with Luis, even an assist is bonus. 11 returns, 22 bonus says it all, right? You get an assist also is usually a 5-point assist. It's not too bad. So if you need somebody who's nailed and you're not free hitting in 29, Luis fits the bill definitely. For Bailey, he says good form. He's becoming more consistent and a constant outlet down the right. He has started 10 of the last 12, but is only averaging 71 minutes per start. So there are a lot of early subs. Diaby can eat into his minutes. A couple of poor performances, and Emery could choose to switch it up. And the problem with all these guys is, right, the Europa Conference starts soon. And that's either side of Game Week 28. Probably the worst time when we could have certain random benchings, performance drops. And there are a few other guys that have come on the radar, like Ramsey. He says Ramsey is getting fitter and looked lively, but he put Luis and Bailey ahead. He said McGinn is playing in the pivot, so it's an absolute avoid. And Tielemans, again, is one he's not sure about in terms of starts or where he would play.
Yeah. I mean, but if somebody wants to punt, I have nothing against a Bailey or a Ramsey punt, is what my position would be on Aston Villa. Doug Lewis, right? Just before this game, he played us. And I thought he was a really good pick. He was getting in the box a lot. He was doing a lot of advanced 8 midfieldery stuff. I just saw that there was a wide gap in the role he played against us versus the role he played against Fulham.
You saw the extended highlights, right? Did you notice that specifically?
I noticed that. I noticed that specifically also. And I told you, right, also, when he joins the attack, the likelihood of he's normally the 5th or the 6th guy joining the attack, right?
Yes.
And Villa isn't a control team. If Villa were a control team, I would have said that the likelihood
the Gundogan type. You control, and the guy breaking into the box with the Gundogan role gets the goal. I see what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. That's the perception. It's still penalties and it's still assists, and that's one of the things I've put in my mind for next year is just pay a lot more attention to penalty takers because those are free goals.
Fair enough. Yeah. That's where we are on Villa. Who else catches? Yeah, we covered United. Villa, Wolves. Who else?
Forest.
Oh yeah, you mentioned Elanga. Elanga and even Hudson Odoi. I think he's got returns in his last 3 games now.
Yeah, but it's just I've been watching some of the games. I've been watching some of the highlights. Elanga he's got decent upside as a pick in my opinion. He's got 12 returns in 17 starts or so. That's not bad. And Forest are in a good space under Santo. They've scored about 16, 17 goals in 8 games, 15 goals in 8 games under him. And the fixtures, right, especially in your situation, right, you were looking at somebody playing this week and 29. They've got Villa away 26. And there's a very good chance they play Luton away in 29.
It was also a very good fixture for your attackers.
Yeah. And even then, right, they've got Brighton in 28. Elanga is the primary outlet on Forest's counter. because he's got pace to burn. So I just thought the matchups would match up for a player like him. He doesn't cost too much money. So as an eighth attacker, I thought he was fine. His finishing was terrible against West Ham. If his finishing was decent, he could have braced in that game. He had that many chances.
An
Just a
outside
rogue
shot.
shout.
Yeah, an outside shot is also Eze. New manager
Yeah.
bounces a thing. I realize that no matter like how like poor the club is or like how average the manager or underwhelming he is, you usually see some upturn. I like the bit they did on Glasner on Monday Night Football. Jesse Marsh did it. It was the whole thing about how he attacks, how he sets up, and all that stuff. So it should be
Tell
interesting
me
to
a little
watch.
about Glasner. I don't know about it. Can you just
I mean, I don't know
give our
much
listener?
either. It's just that it's just much more front foot attacking. Football is this whole
Okay.
thing with Jesse Marsh says with like, you know, playing, it's more vertical. They look, the whole idea is always play the ball forward.
Wow, so it's a complete change of philosophy
And
for
it's
a
going to
team
take
like
some
Palace.
time, but you will expect
Yeah.
it to happen.
Yeah, I mean, even a Sheffield United had a little bit of a manager bounce. So you
They did.
expect it from a team like Palace, who are at least you've got better players. And the news that we've heard is that Eze could be fit for this week. So then the fixtures look decent for a short-term
Yeah,
period.
3
where
home
they
games
play.
in the next 4, and the away one is Tottenham, who are leaky.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I don't mind that.
That's about it in midfield, I think. Let's talk about defense and forwards.
I mean, midfield, the only other bet, the thing is, Bournemouth would be a decent team to invest in because they've got Burnley next week and they've got Sheffield United and Luton in a double game week after that. It's just that they play City this week. So the timing amount that is
Yeah.
of that is
And
a
we
little
have to
bit.
be wary of double game week coverage picks.
Yeah, exactly.
Just, like,
And if you're like me, somebody who doesn't, let's say there must be a few FPL managers who have Gabriel and Saka, for example. I think buying a third Arsenal player is a good option because they've in the next two they're facing Newcastle at home and Sheffield United away. I would say it's a good opportunity if we don't get any Gabriel Jesus news this week as well to zag, look to get a haul against Newcastle or Sheffield United, get a second attacker, get Odegaard or Trossard. Like I think that's a decent shout if you're looking for an explosive differential for an Arsenal team in form.
the only caveat with that, though, right? I think there's so many good picks in midfield and not in defense. You know, it's very difficult today to weigh up, like, you know, Odegaard versus a defender, but I can see certain midfielders who could provide a similar output to Odegaard, but in defense, the picks have completely dried up.
Yeah, I agree with you. But if somebody was in the market, let's say they've got their midfield spot sorted, I don't mind the idea of punting on a second Arsenal attacker.
It would
And
be
especially
Odegaard.
Trossard.
I think it would be, you like Trossard over Odegaard?
I was reading some stats again. He's played 9 games as center forward and he's got 4 goals and 6 assists in those games. So his return when he's starting as center forward is pretty good.
That's
It's a chance thing. Yeah. Worth noting though that Arsenal, they play the second Champions League tie immediately after Game Week 28, I think. And it's likely that they don't play in Game Week 29. The only way they play in Game Week 29 is if Leeds beat Chelsea in the FA Cup tie. So if Leeds beat Chelsea, then the fixture schedule becomes a little tight. If not, it's easy peasy.
But there's still points there to take in the next 3.
Yeah.
Big points.
Yeah.
If you're going to beating teams 5-0, 6-0, then you're talking double digits. And they have the tactical shift in the way they're set up. Obviously you can go into a whole pot detailing. We don't need to, but Odegaard better positions, Saka better positions.
Yeah, all of them. Even the rotation between Trossard, Kai, and Martinelli on the left-hand side is pretty good as well. And Rice is settled in the team now. He's playing sensationally well. So they're just in a good moment. They lost to Porto, didn't have any shots, but I wouldn't read too much into that on a team on the up. Like that camp that they had did wonders for them.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think we've covered Jota stuff pretty well. Let's go ahead now. Let's just look in defense. There's a lot of interest in Wolves also, and I don't mind that. With the 3 home games they have coming, Ait Nouri, probably the pick for me.
Yeah, 3 home games, you say that, but the 29 home game is unlikely. It's worth mentioning that. Yeah. So it's Sheffield United and Fulham at home. I don't mind it. He's pretty attacking as a defender.
The upside guys, I think I'm looking at the other teams because United, you guys have lost Shaw now. Dalot is probably the other one you go for. You have to bench him in 27, obviously. You can afford to do that. Not too bad.
One small thing I wanted to mention is that Bruno Guimaraes is on 9 yellow cards.
For ages.
And this is, but this is now, like if I had to pick a game in which it's likely that the midfielder gets a yellow card, it's a game against Arsenal, in my opinion. Because they've got the tricky pacey wingers. If that happens, you've got Wolves face Guimaraes less Newcastle in Gameweek 27 as well. Just want to add that as well.
It's crazy, man. Like Pras mentioned, the defense has gone completely down to pot. They could have conceded 3 or 4 goals last game.
Yeah. Every game, man. Every game. Like, I told Pras 2 weeks ago also, Trippier's just not a pick at the moment because I don't see them keeping any
he
cleans.
benched him in a home game. Like, I remember I was in Pras's year right after the pod. Like, Pras, don't bench Trippier in a home game, but absolutely right decision.
Yeah. And it doesn't look like it's going to improve.
Look at the data, man. They're straight 20th, 15.29 in 6 games. That's outrageous. That's nearly 3 XGC per game. 2.5.
Yeah, man. Just in a bad space.
23 big chances conceded. That's the same as Luton.
What does, I asked this last time also, what does Eddie Howe have on Dan Burn, man? Genuinely, what does he have?
Now, he has a very tricky dilemma this weekend, right? Now, it's who he's going to be up against, obviously. He's going to be up against Saka. But the problem now is Arsenal are stoking the set pieces so well. Now you need Dan Burn to defend the set pieces. What can he do over there? Because they don't have big guys, keep in mind, in other positions now. Because, we don't have the midfield big guys, you don't have Joe Linton, etc. So you need at least the height from your back four. Trippier, again, is not a guy who really defends much of set pieces. So it's just the 3 guys there.
Yep.
Burn's going to play.
But you have to... Lascelles could play. He's back to being fit as well. So there could be some options there. Because
but where would Lascelles play? But Lascelles also he's not going to play left back. He's even slower than Burn.
Yeah, something needs to change. They just have to play Livramento. Because Botman isn't in great form either. Schär isn't. Schär had a little bit of an injury doubt. So Lascelles could play in place of him also. Maybe that strengthens that team up. But
no, it doesn't strengthen the team up. Schär is the best centre back, I think. I mean, Botman you could argue, but Schär is really key to the way they play, they distribute, the way they move forward.
You just have to.
Who I do want to mention on this is Nuno. We look at Forest over there. They're second for XG conceded over the last 6 game weeks, 5.39, just 46 open play goal attempts, just 6 big chances in as many games. Very, very good numbers. And this is proper Nuno ball. And I think Forest have the players to play Nuno ball.
Yeah. And somebody we're going to mention on Wildcard chart, but a lot more people are going to be looking at Nuno Tavares then. He's been very, very attacking as a wing back in that Forest team. Right now, the fixtures aren't there. And I think most of us are going to wildcard in the game week 30 to 32 window. If things don't change massively with the cup results and then the route opens up in 27, we could look at 27 wildcard also. But if you're looking at a post 29 wildcard, team like this could open up. And that's why if you're buying a defender now, it just has to be a fixture play. Yeah. It just has to be a fixture play.
People are asking, so you're just asking a couple of people there about Porro and Estupinan. And what do you do this? I mean, Porro, do you hold? I think you can give him one more week because the fixtures after, again, you make the 29 bet. And there was this whole thing on Instagram where he posted that he's going to be back soon, right?
Yeah, on Twitter. He replied to somebody. Somebody tweeted, "What should I do?" And Porro replied to somebody, "Don't sell me." So that's the thing. It's just that Spurs don't look like they're going to keep clean set anytime soon. So if you have a
2-week break,
like 2-week break could mean good things for their attack also.
Correct.
So you could want to jump on their attackers also. I thought Kulusevski looked really, really good in that previous game. He looked very involved. I was in Baker's ears immediately after. I'm like, talk to me about Kulu. Who's going to suffer? Like, is there anybody going to be dropped, or is it going to be Kulu, Richarlison, Madison, and Son? After 2 weeks, if you have these 4 players playing, because there's Brennan Johnson and Werner sitting in the background as well, right? So and there are no mugs. There are picks to the punts to be taken on attack there.
Good options there. I think you hold Porro. Estupinan, it's a weird one, right? I do think there's something happening over there in terms of fitness, and you wouldn't expect him to change a winning combination. So there are 2 ways to look at it. You just get rid of a player this week, just bite the bullet. But I don't know who you'd really buy him for. Maybe if your Arsenal quota isn't full, you go for that.
Yeah, that's it. Arsenal. Like even Dalot isn't a great pick. We give away a lot of chances in defense, and now Shaw is injured as well, and that has a massive effect on our build-up play from the back. United are a much worse team without Shaw as well. So I think it's Arsenal defender or Ait Nouri if you're buying this week, or a City defender if you had a City defense spot open.
Let's talk forwards, and for a second, let's ignore the whole fixture chest thing.
Just pause for 1 second. If you are an Estupinan owner, I'd wait right till the end because we don't have any early kickoff on Saturday. So Brighton is one of 4 games who kick off at 3 p.m. UK time, 8:30 p.m. India time. You could get some team news. So if you're looking to sell Estupinan, wait till right till the end because you could get some leaks early. And just for information, we might get early news on Villa, Forest, Brighton, Everton, Palace, Burnley, and United, Fulham because all 4 games kick off at the same time.
Correct. Do you want to talk about your boy Haaland?
He's a good pick in a good place, but Pras made a lot of sense last week when he spoke to us. Like he doesn't come into the optimal Solanke, Watkins, Haaland trio. And
again,
even if you're looking,
just ignore fixture chess for a second.
Yeah. If I'm ignoring fixture chess.
Yeah, because if game's over there for the next couple of weeks today, most people I think who have Darwin still have Watkins, still have Haaland. Yeah. I'm just assuming that. Yeah. So do you get Solanke in this week? Assuming that, look at the entry point now, obviously City isn't great, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but City is not bad either.
Correct.
I don't ever mind my attackers playing City. They tend to concede chances to everybody these days. They're not as good defensively as they used to be. I don't mind it. You can't, unless you're wildcarding in Gameweek 27 and it's a 1-week bet, it's a difficult case to make for a Haaland.
Head over heart there. I was hoping to get some old LR Man United.
He's a good pick. He's a good pick. There's no Palhinha for Fulham. He's an informed striker. For a team that's doing decent, it's probably mid-table in attack. He's on a hot run of form, but he's not on pens. Solanke's on pens. What do you do? It is what it is. He's a good pick. Nothing against it. And even then, you're also betting against an extra fixture that an Ivan Toney is offering. And Ivan Toney is a good pick irrespective, right? Ivan Toney is nailed on to play in Gameweek 29 too. And he's got a good fixture in 29. The fixtures now are a little difficult, but Toney is capable of points against anybody.
Correct. The tougher games don't really mind Toney because he's the one who plays more central in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Let's go game by game.
Yeah. Let's talk about fixtures for this week.
And just while we're at it, we'll just throw in a little bit of Free Hit 26 chat as well, because there are a few people who are on Free Hit 26. So just players we would consider on Free Hit this week.
I think the best fixtures to target over here obviously are Wolves. And you go by the goal projections, it's City, Arsenal and Manchester United. You go for these 4 again because Villa, I don't like any of the guys probably besides Watkins.
Yeah. But like I said, Villa, punting on a Moreno with a high upside isn't a bad shout.
But what I don't like is I think Nuno Ball is perfectly tailored to play against the high line. All they're going to be doing is just breaking the entire time.
That's why the Elanga shouts off.
I know. I know exactly where you're coming from. And it's all banter we do on Twitter, obviously. Yeah. So, but I don't mind it at all. But in general, I don't see the clean sheet there for Villa.
Fair.
The thing is now, where do
Pras
you go
is
for
buying Pau this week.
But Pras is Pau again. There's an interesting one because again you're building towards it, and he looks a very dull pick on paper, but he's the target for every set piece. Twice or thrice early in the season, I remember hitting the crossbar. He has proper set piece threat.
Yeah. Palace, Burnley, Eze could be fit. We spoke about that. Not much else to talk about. Burnley are a prime team to target. Like as a practice, as an FPL practice, especially if you're chasing, a good idea would be to look at Burnley's and Sheffield United's fixtures, see their attackers that are coming in the short term and try targeting players from those teams.
Yeah. That's why I have Archer in my team. I think it's quite easy to see who he's playing every week.
He pulled a hammy or something, right? Just he was in the starting 11 or something.
Some sort of issue in the day of the game,
Yeah. Bournemouth versus City. Do you think we get redemption as KDB owners this game?
So the comment he made that KDB had some minor problems with his hamstring. Again, I'm hoping that it's just as... Again, the closer we get to kick off the later on Saturday, more chances of leaks. KDB is such a marquee player. The tricky part is now if you get news that KDB is benched what do you do when you're already short on players and you know that he's very likely to start game week 27 against Manchester United, which is double-digit potential?
Yeah. If
I'd
you
play him for
have
the
a
cameo.
10th,
I'd play him for the cameo.
30 minutes and 0 minutes of a player who's definitely not playing is better than 0 minutes and 90 minutes of new player.
Because
You play him for the cameo.
I'm still holding him for likely for a Spurs man, maybe Son, who had 0 shots, by the way, against Wolves. So
we'll talk about Spurs when we get there, because we won't get there. It's just worth mentioning that, they had an okay performance against Wolves, etc. Wolves are a kind of team that tend to play to the level of their opposition, actually, which is why you maybe need to curb your expectations when they're playing slightly poor teams, because they don't do as well against deep blocks as they do against. What's cracking you up, man?
the fly, it found a nice nest in your hair there for a second. I'm sorry, I couldn't.
It's all good. It's all good, man. It's all good. As a tribute, I'll probably watch our Breaking Bad episode later tonight. Drive to Survive is back tomorrow. I just got to know today as well, so that's some good content coming up. Where was I? Completely lost my chain of thought, man.
I don't remember.
Yeah, Wolves tend to play to the level of their opposition. Wolves tend to play to the level of their opposition, so I would just curb my expectations a little bit, but it's Sheffield United. Correct. What? I have no idea what the point I was making. Completely lost my chain.
Look at I think this is the highest I've seen Wolves numbers all season.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to see, really, from the tactical point, what change they do make against a deep block, because the game before this was against Brentford at home, who we know, full-on deep block away from home. And they struggled a little bit because maybe they lost Cunha in that game. They didn't adapt as much. But I like this Wolves team. I like Gary O'Neill as a manager. I think he has a lot of potential.
And Neto being fit is a big deal. Big deal. He's like, whoever gets Neto and in the top 6-7 next year is going to do well. I think he's an amazing player.
Correct.
Yeah.
Brighton, Everton. Now, this is a fixture. I think Everton completely hammered Brighton last year. And I think they scored 4 or 5 goals, right? I do remember away to Brighton later on in the season, Dyche pulled one out. So it'll be interesting. I think he has some sort of tactical thing he likes to try against De Zerbi.
And Doucouré is back, which is a pretty big deal for...
Duke's had the same number of big chances as Wang this season.
Wow. It is worth mentioning that Everton in general are a much better team when Duke plays. So that's what you want to take into consideration. Yeah. If they didn't have a very likely blank in 29, right? A lot of us would be looking at Mitoma and Adingra. Let's say you're talking to somebody who's definitely free hitting in 29. Would you go for a Mitoma or an Adingra right
Adingra.
now?
I like Adingra. I like buying players when they're just in a purple patch. He was an African champion with the Ivory Coast. Yeah. So he's obviously riding a big wave. We could see the confidence in him, more belief.
Yeah.
I think Adingra would be my midfield pick now. In Mitoma, we already know the pedigree there, but just the vibe I'm getting right now from Adingra is a bit better.
He had a sensational game though, Mitoma. He was walking around that defense. The amount of chances he created, he just didn't have the final pass to match it, but he was toying around with the defense this week.
I think United Fulham we've already discussed.
Yep.
The captaincy, let's touch upon now. You see these Arsenal odds over here, 2.5. Now Man City 2.4. Now Bournemouth's numbers are a little bit interesting. I do want to share now. The last 6 game weeks, they have conceded 14 goals, but the XGC numbers aren't that bad. It's only 8.01. Big chances numbers, they are not that great. It's 14, but not extravagant as well. Like Villa have conceded 17. Bournemouth have conceded fewer. It's about the same number as Brighton. City have conceded 12. So you get the picture over there. They're legit a good defense on paper. They've been conceding a lot of goals. But what sort of matchup do you think this is? Now, I look at it as a good matchup for City because Bournemouth at home will look to play, not Bus Park.
Same thoughts. It's a good matchup for City. What might influence, maybe make me consider putting the armband on an Arsenal attacker is if Haaland isn't starting. Like, if KDB isn't starting.
If KDB isn't starting, because Haaland isn't starting, then obviously that goes out the window.
Sorry, no, if KDB isn't starting, like that's the thing. But I like the matchup. But Bournemouth coming to place.
Yeah, I wouldn't place too much weightage into that with no KDB. Like, they've been hammering teams even without KDB.
Yeah. But like, he matters that much in my opinion. That's all.
Yeah, but much better, obviously. But I don't think.
I just like that. I like the matchup for Haaland, irrespective. And Newcastle have been terrible, but they are capable of showing up. Like, you know what I'm saying?
They're going to try
That's
to
all.
bus park at least at Arsenal, because I don't think they can be as open as they were against Liverpool. That's still probably
Yeah.
the most open game we'll see from them all season.
Yeah. That's what. That's what. Would you talk anybody off a Saka captaincy?
No, there's no reason to. He's the most formed player in the league right now. The numbers are absolutely through the roof. And
Yeah.
there's some comments from Pep also about Haaland not being in his best shape. I don't know
Best
if that's
shape.
to mitigate the performances. Like, he's sort of protecting him for all the misses he had against Chelsea. Because let's be honest, I haven't spoken about the Chelsea game. We played well and everything, but Haaland could have had a hat trick easily.
Yeah. I mean, worth mentioning because I was the Darwin triple captain against Haaland, but the punishment wasn't as extreme as it could be. I could have been down 50, 60 more points compared to what I was down because of the chances he had.
Much more against Brentford. And we kind of expected that, right? Chelsea was the money game in that double.
Yeah, I think I'm captaining Haaland.
I don't think there's any reason not to, but I wouldn't put anyone off Saka. But I think there's no reason not to captain Haaland.
Bournemouth were in a much different place when they played City, but I remember that City scored 6 goals against Bournemouth in the reverse fixture.
I think it was, they scored a consolation towards the end with Bournemouth.
Just a very curious question. Do you feel awkward or weird when your team plays Bournemouth in their stadium? Like, I don't know if I brought it up earlier in the pod also, because it's a weirdly sized stadium.
Yeah.
The pitch seems smaller than it is. I wonder if teams struggle because Bournemouth are very used to playing in that size pitch. I wonder if teams struggle when they come to this. It's just a little bit of something about an away tag.
Pep hasn't really struggled. Chelsea, the thing is with Bournemouth, we've had very bad history there and at Stamford Bridge. We've lost their 4-0 against Sarri, and that's when Sarri came out with the quote that I can't motivate these players, etc., etc. So from a personal perspective, I've never liked visiting there. But as an opposition thing before this, it was Eddie Howe, right? Eddie Howe teams we knew at Bournemouth were much more open. So it's a completely different kettle of fish to what we have now.
Correct. Just before we move further, I want to talk about our viewers to likes ratio. We've got about 700 people watching us at the moment, and we've just got about 150 odd likes. It would be really, really nice if you could just bring this up. We're asking you to just click a button. We'd be appreciative. We've done 2 pieces of content this week as well. So we're looking to maintain averages, higher, get more free content out for you guys. So if you could just hit the like button, it'd be great. And while I'm in the midst of plugging, we also have a Discord that you can join us, where Zoph actually tends to spend the last 2 hours pre-deadline doing a call with all the Discorders, where he's taking in questions. There's a little calmness with Zoph's beautiful voice in the panic of the deadline. So it'd be good if you could just either to support us or to join the conversation with us, become a member on Patreon or on YouTube so that you can join our Discord.
I just find it a bit more personal than deadline streams, right? You can actually talk to anyone, listen. And we're good people. We had Swan from the Discord, we had Karan, we had Mark, a lot of people. It's just good to hear stories from people, how their seasons are going, etc., etc. Because FPL is for me more than just a game. It's about the human aspect and connecting people, which I really enjoy.
And a shout out to our Discorder, Pamo, who's gotten married as well recently. Congratulations to you, Pamo.
You're not supposed to say recently, you're supposed to say just.
Just. And everybody
all over the way.
From the FPL Wire Discord actually wishes the best of luck to Pamo's wife. Well, everybody in Discord knows why we're doing that.
Absolutely.
I'm just thinking about, so just a little bit of context. Let's talk about Pamo a little. Every time there's a goal happening, he talks, whether there's a close chance, he's says this player's name and then he says just. Now, extrapolate that personality to Pamo's honeymoon. The amount of KLPD that would be happening is quite insane. But shout out, wishing you both the best of luck, man.
Absolutely. West Ham, Brentford. I just want to touch upon Reguilon. So attacking. I'm glad we were big on Reggie on this pod.
Would you buy him though? I think if you can bench him in 27 and 28, he's a buy. Otherwise, he's not. Which
is fair shot. And if you have to play him, not the worst, because he's even more attacking than Rico Henry was.
Yeah.
That's that goal that the goal I think Tony got was Reguilon shot in the box. That scores, and we're talking about double-digit haul for Reggie.
Yep.
That's about it. Move on to bus teams.
Yep.
This is Fixture of team up first. Areola in goal. Gabriel, Trippier, Saliba, Konsa. I think obviously Konsa I think he will be keeping. Saka,
I know his
Foden.
moves.
You know his moves, right? Already he's mentioned them.
Yeah.
I think Jota sold. Wang has come in.
Yeah, he already
Watkins,
did Jota
Darwin.
to Wang.
Yeah, Watkins, Darwin, Haaland with Virgil, Palmer, and Richarlison. I'm glad he got the Virgil goal.
Yeah, I'm happy for him. That's the goal that got him into the top 50K. 98. Very, very happy for Fixture of. He's looking at doing Virgil and Darwin to Pau Torres and Solanke.
Nice moves. Very Fixture of
Yeah.
moves. So it's a balance
And-
of like
and-
building towards a double, attacking the short term.
Yeah. Yep.
And he's kept himself flexible, right? Because we talked about Villa. Ultimately, even if you're not free hitting or you're free hitting, it's still a good thing because you have a good fixture 30 as well. That makes a big
Yeah.
difference.
Yep.
This is my team. Areola, Cash, double Arsenal defense. Saka, De Bruyne, Foden, Jota, Archer, Watkins, and Haaland. Likely moves will be Jota to Wang and Archer to Solanke for the hit. If Archer is fit, I might delay the move, but I think just get it done with because it'll give me more flexibility in the future.
Yeah, hits are coming in the future irrespective.
Just get Solanke in now so that way I don't have to waste a transfer. I can sort of stay ahead of the curve.
Yep.
Pretty set on that, I think. I'm off that whole
Yeah, I'm
Doug
very
thing.
happy. Yeah, we would have a much longer conversation if you weren't Doug right now.
Yeah. No, what really
Yeah.
tilted me, I think, was those Forest numbers. Maybe I'm not recognizing, looking at Forest at home as a good fixture. And even the West Ham game is away. Look at his entire
Yeah.
pointage. It's all maybe if West Ham was at home in 29, slightly tilt me maybe a little bit differently, but nah. I think I'll chase the
Yeah.
upside with Wang this week and see what happens later. And that's worked for me, right? Over the last few weeks, I haven't been thinking too far ahead. Just attack
Yeah,
whatever's
yeah.
there in front of me and then
Yeah. I mean, routes could open up where all of us are looking at Wildcard and Gameweek 27. We shouldn't underestimate the potential of what information we gather in 27.
correct. Your team?
Yeah, I've got Dubravka, I've got double Arsenal defense, I've got Dalot, and I've got FPL legend Charlie Taylor, who's going to get an assist and a clean sheet against Crystal Palace. Screw the new manager bounce. I've got triple City attack in De Bruyne, Foden, and Haaland, who's my cap at the moment, and I've got Solanke. I'm looking at doing Darwin and Jota to Saka and Watkins.
Fair. Yeah. I'm glad that you've just not stubborn about those guys. Just bring them back.
No, I think the more creative routes will open up next week when we know what the fixtures are going to look like.
Correct.
Until then,
Get the glue guys.
like
in
I've thought
place.
about, I like you have to accept that there's been a technical positional change. Like Watkins, I was very sure about. It was the one thing I was contemplating was whether I should get Saka or whether I should zag and hope to get lucky getting a Trossard, a different player from the same team. But I think it's a very long ask. With this positional change for Saka, I'm going to continue bleeding points to the field. It doesn't make sense to me right now. I think the time to get creative is next week.
Correct. Spot on. I'd agree with the moves over there.
Yeah.
Let's wrap up.
Yeah. We're done. You want to do a couple of questions?
There was
We
a
had
super
one
chat.
super chat.
Yeah, I'll just
Yeah.
read out Yogesh super chat really quick. Darwin to Watkins, Jota to Wang, and play one of Estupinan and Taylor, or just do one of the above transfers. So play Estupinan and Taylor for free 11. I would say
Both.
just do both. They're both good
Yeah.
picks. They're both high upside picks this week, and you would probably, I would say, play Estupinan. I know you just mentioned Taylor's potential, but again, the upside I think is there more with Estupinan. I'm not seeing a clean sheet there for Burnley.
Yeah. And Home of FPL is asking where you can get the Discord link. So to get our Discord link, you need to either become a member on our YouTube channel or you need to go to patreon.com/the FPL Wire and become a member on Patreon, and then the instructions will follow.
Or a YouTube membership as well, if you guys, because if you're in India, it's much easier with the whole currency thing to become a YouTube member.
Yep.
Randeep's asking, should I wildcard this week? Only 6 fit players? Not necessarily. I don't think so. I think we did do a wildcard reason. You can look at Fran's video about the draft and his reasoning. If it coincides
6 is
with
tough,
yours.
huh?
6 is tough.
6 fit play. Yeah, 6 fit, 1 free transfer maybe calls for it. Even then,
also,
though,
it depends on which players, right?
yeah, which players? If you've got decent players, I'd be very willing to take it on the chin just to see what happens in the FA Cup games.
Yeah.
Like, for example, right, if Leeds versus Chelsea, Leeds wins, like the
I
wild card
don't
just
like that we
looks.
keep going to that one, but let's see. What about Forest?
But,
Forest beating
no, but
United.
it's a perfect example to cite
Yeah.
how different your wildcard team would look, because Arsenal and Chelsea then have games in 29. Like it's the easiest example to give so that people understand what could open
Yeah,
up in
I
terms
get
of
it.
routes.
I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
And Leeds are flying, so fair enough.
Yeah. And I'm sort of manifesting it because I've got 4 from by the end of this week, I'll have 5 from that game. So I just want that game to happen.
Oh man.
Yeah.
There's not too many questions. I think people are pretty set. This is a bit of just a week where you go in limbo. Next week's spot is obviously the big one.
Yep. Right. Thanks for following us. Thanks for watching as always. We're always appreciative of all the love and support you give us. Make sure we get to 30K very soon, and we'll see you next week. Good luck, guys.
Good luck, guys. Fly away as the fly did. It's been so difficult for me. It's been buzzing the whole time to ignore it.
Yeah, man. Did a good job though of
Yeah,
ignoring it and focusing on the conversation.
I tried.
It was
This is
zero. It
1
was
point.
zero. So yeah.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
See you next week. Peace out.
All right.